This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Browns get some good news and Browns get some bad news today when it comes to injury, but the good news I think does strongly outweigh the bad news when you talk about its potential impact on the rest of the season and going forward against the New York Giants. So let's get into it, right? The good news for the Cleveland Browns is that Kevin Stefanski said that there is a chance that Jack Conklin and Jed Wills will play on Sunday, both of them. Now, this is after weeks of Kevin being pretty non-committal, so this is about as committed as he's gotten to saying that, hey, these two could play on Sunday. It would make a huge difference right now. The Browns' offensive line definitely needs reinforcements. They're seeing the effects of having two younger players at both tackle positions in James Hudson and DeJuan Jones. And while DeJuan Jones is not playing bad, there's still stuff you have to do for a player as inexperienced as DeJuan Jones to be able to be upright at that position. And then you have what's going on with James Hudson in order to have him be upright. It's causing a lot of stress into the interior of this offensive line, and I think it showed itself in the third quarter of the Jacksonville Jaguars game. So the more reinforcements they can get, the better. And even if Jack Conklin is not going to start because Jed Wills is available, or Jed Wills is going to sit while Jack Conklin plays, while Jed Wills gets back in shape, all of this stuff is positive for the Cleveland Browns because you want to have more of a veteran presence on the left side there, whether it be Jack or Jed. And Jed is going to be able to kind of hold it down there if he plays left tackle on a one-on-one basis. You have Jack Conklin to use if you want to use him as a swing tackle that's added depth. You can have him be a eligible tackle in certain sets. And I think that will be all good. It's important to remember that there has been progress week upon week with all of these guys, right? Before the season started, Jack and Jed got back to practice for the first time. And then after week one, Jack and Jed practiced multiple times last week. So this points to us finally seeing Jack or Jed or both of these guys being full at practice, which would indicate that they would play. Kevin Stefanski, the Cleveland Browns, they like to play it safe with these injuries, so they'll be safer than not, especially considering that this part of the schedule is not going to be where their hardest hit or where they're going to play their most consequential games of the year. So they're going to play it a little safe here, but all in all, it looks like we're on track for Jack and Jed to at least be active this week, which will be a huge upgrade for this team. Let's talk about David Njoku, because it wasn't ruled out that David Njoku could play this week. Now, this doesn't mean that it's a done deal, smack it down, that David Njoku comes back. It might even be a situation where, hey, David could come back this week, but given that you don't think the Giants are going to be somebody you can't beat without David Njoku, that you would just hold him back an extra week just to make sure that he doesn't re-aggravate that ankle sprain. But David Njoku could be back this week. Kevin Stefanski did not rule it out. I think this is part of him not hitting the IR. So that's very good news here for the Cleveland Browns, because the sooner you get David Njoku back, the more unlocked you'll be able to be offensively. Now, the Browns did have some bad news. Another piece of good news that you might not have even known that you had to be on the lookout for was that Agbo Okoronkwo, the Browns' third best pass rusher, cleared concussion protocol. Had no idea he was in concussion protocol, but he cleared concussion protocol. So any worries about Agbo Okoronkwo being able to play this week will be alleviated. He will be available as long as the concussion protocol is the only thing that we're concerned about his status for next week. There are some questions about Denzel Ward, who only played 11 snaps in last week's game. Apparently, he had a shoulder injury coming into this week's game, and he was on a bit of a pitch count. So that's why he only played 11 snaps. We'll see if he did anything to re-aggravate that injury, but it seems like he didn't sustain an injury versus Jacksonville. He sustained an injury maybe during the week or against the Cowboys, and they were nursing that injury during the game. Still was able to play, looked good when he played, so I expect him to be at a full snap count once the Browns play the Raiders. He might be on a snap count again against the Giants. It might just be dependent on how the game goes, how they roll with that. But all good stuff there. Now let's get to some of the news that's not great. David Bell, unfortunately, will require surgery for his dislocated hip, and it's speculated that that's going to take him out for the rest of the season. And really just unfortunate news here for David Bell. I thought he, in a very small sample size not last week, but in Sunday's game, played fine. I thought he's somebody who has been playing good football recently, but just continues to get injured at the wrong place at the wrong time. He suffered an injury right at the end of training camp. He suffers an injury now. It's unfortunate how these injuries have really stacked up and affect David Bell's NFL career. And hopefully he can come back from this and put together a strong year 4, but just the injuries have just come at the most inopportune times. It's not necessarily that he's missed a ton of games because of injury. It's just like, hey, his rookie year, he misses training camp because he gets injured. He comes back, he has a decent camp, he gets injured again. He doesn't get to play or build off of that. And then this year, he has a good camp. He's coming off a good end of the season, gets injured right before the season starts, ends up getting cut as a result of that, and then gets brought back, has a good start to this season, and then gets injured again. It's unfortunate how these injuries have really just followed David Bell in the most inopportune times for these injuries to pop up. I hope he gets well soon, and I hope he gets a chance here with the Cleveland Browns next year. Pierre Strong will be week to week with a hamstring injury. Look, here's where I'm at with Pierre Strong. Okay, I don't really see a reason that he gets as many carries as he does, and he's only gotten 3. I know there are still some Pierre Strong diehards in the audience that still think that Pierre Strong's like better than Jerome Ford, but it's just not the case. Jerome Ford is significantly better than Pierre Strong. I think the team would be better served that any carries that would go to a third running back should just go to Jerome Ford. Carry a third running back for depth purposes. Maybe it's Aiden Robbins. Maybe they pick up somebody off the practice squad. But I imagine that, Pierre Strong not being able to play, I wonder what that does to his roster status. But other than that, I don't think it's really going to affect where the Browns are. But that's the overall news. And I think it's important to remember, if you're a Browns fan, that the Browns did kind of limp into this 2024 season. They weren't 100% healthy. When they had some health, they were still working off of some other issues. Nick Chubb is still to come. You lost David Njoku in the opener. He's still to come back, right? You're waiting for your 2 starting tackles to come back. The Browns were never going to play their best football in the first 2 weeks of the season. So it's important to remember that these 2 weeks that you've seen, despite the Browns being 1-1, is not a great representation of what this team will be going forward and what they will be, hopefully, by the end of the season when they get everything together. I think the stuff that we saw from Deshaun Watson when the pocket was clean for most of the first half is very promising. If that's what the pocket can look like when it's healthy, with Jed Wills out there and Jack Conklin maybe playing a role in there, then that means that you're going to have some good results from the passing game, and that Deshaun Watson's going to be able to do the things that he needs to do. I think the performance of the run game was very encouraging in this one. And imagine if you have a good run game already, and then you add Nick Chubb to it, and then you have Jerome Ford to run off. And we know Jerome Ford is good for those big plays. I think there's a lot here that the Browns can really build upon and add to once they start to get these reinforcements added to this team. And hopefully that's the situation for this Cleveland Browns team. Unlike last year where they lost pieces and lost pieces and lost pieces as the season went on, hopefully the story can be the reverse, where the Browns add pieces and get healthier and healthier and healthier as the season goes on, and they can be at their healthiest, playing their best football during the playoffs and hopefully in the playoffs into February. But that's the dream for the Cleveland Browns this year, and that's the hope for the Cleveland Browns this year. But getting healthier, small things here, Got to take it 1 week at a time, especially with quarterback play. But so far, so good on the news. We'll see what happens when the Browns come in to practice in Berea. But right now, good news from the Cleveland Browns, getting healthier and avoiding some injuries on Sunday as they march on for the rest of the season. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.